Boom. Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome, everybody. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're an early regular, big up to the early regulars. It's a Friday in the summer. Is this considered the dog days of summer? I never understood that because I love summertime, but for some people, mysteriously, this would be the dog days of summer. And I'm so happy that you guys are here with me today. Spook Realm 4Q, you are once again number 111 in the building. PSA, real quick. One, get the book. My brother's name is Kenny. It's the true origin story, the real story of KRS-One, Kenny Parker, BDP. The link is in the description below. And every week I say this, a lot of the questions that you guys ask on this channel, I go into great detail in the book. Get the book. Rule number 2, hit the like button if you get a chance. I said I was going to stop saying it because maybe if I don't say it, then maybe people will do it. But because I say it and Tracy reminds me to say it again, that still people don't do it. But hit the like button if you get a chance. It helps the algorithm so we can have more like-minded people in the chat. And last but not least, and the most important, big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. All right, let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see. I forgot to announce this week that yesterday I was at Vinyl Nights party that I do with DJ Misbehavior. Shout out to DJ Misbehavior, Rebecca Lynn, the Vinyl Nights crew. I do it in the summertime. I do a few of them throughout the year, but I did one yesterday in Brooklyn, right across the street from Albee Square Mall. What used to be Albee Square Mall. Playing all 45s, classic R&B breaks, whatever. Great turnout. It was dope. Um, Shout out to my man Kenny Rock that was in the building, Chris Rock's brother. Um, and, I was thinking, for those that don't know Brooklyn, Albee Square Mall used to be a mall in downtown Brooklyn that Biz made most popular with his song Albee Square Mall. The only song I didn't like on his first album, by the way, the Albee Square Mall song. That's where he met Big Daddy Kane. And for those that know Brooklyn, Albee Square Mall used to be one of the most dangerous places in all of New York City because dudes from Flatbush, Bed-Stuy, they were waiting for you to buy your sneakers or your gear, come outside, and they would just get you. Soon as you came outside, if you wasn't down with one of their peoples, you was food out there. Um, but I did a walk through Albee Square Mall yesterday, and it's so different. It just reminds me of how different Brooklyn is compared to when I was growing up. For those that know Albee Square Mall or who have been there back in the day, it's 100% different. All new stores, they did the whole thing over. It's not even called Albee Square Mall anymore. Police presence everywhere through the mall. It felt like one of the safest places in New York. Um, New York is different, y'all. Way different. But yeah, I was in Albee Square Mall yesterday. I was DJing outside. Big up B-Ball Jonesin. Let me run through some shouts. Gregory Nettis, what up? Rosmel, what up? KP, today, 1990, NWA released their second album. Well, it wasn't really an album. I guess it was an EP, so I don't know if it counts as an album. 100 Miles and Running. Actually, EP does not count as an album. 100 Miles and Running was released and yesterday, 1993, Cypress Hill released. Cypress Hill first album dropped in 93? Nah, I think their second album dropped in 93, B-Ball. I recall, the second album, Insane in the Membrane album, right? Off the top of my head. A shout out to that 100 Miles and Running. That's the first album without Ice Cube, first project without Ice Cube. Um, Dope. Let me jump down a little bit. Explicit, what up? Supreme Divine, what up? Uh, Isaiah Winbone, what up? Any brand Nubian stories? Bunches of them. First of all, shout out to Sadat X, who has been on this channel twice. And I just spoke to Sadat a couple months ago and asked him to come back. So I got to set that up. Maybe before the beginning of the basketball season, we could bring Sadat back on and talk basketball. Shout out to X. I met Sadat X in the Bronx at a club called the not the Palace. It was a club that Kid Capri used to rock. Same spot where Slick Rick caught his case for busting shots outside. That place was wild. What's it called? The Palace? In the BX. Dangerous place, y'all. Of course, I used to be in there. I met Sadat X there, I think in 91. Uh, Shout out to my man Grand Pooh, who I first saw perform as Masters of Ceremonies. They opened up for Boogie Down Productions in Union Square when BDP had South Bronx as their single, and Masters of Ceremony had Cracked Out. And I saw them perform, and I've seen them, Brand Nubians, perform at least a dozen times, maybe more than that. Um, we actually did shows with Brand Nubian. Um, and of course, shout out Lord Jamar, who I met in Club Sensations. And it's funny, um, not Club Sensations. Shout out Club Sensations. I met SOBs. Um, Around the time we used to do a party in SOBs called the Kenny Parker Show. I believe it was on a Tuesday, um, fall of 1990. It was my first residency. Of course, KRS had the building, and I was the house DJ. It was called the Kenny Parker Show every Tuesday, and everybody used to be in there. Known groups, up and coming groups. And I remember there was a little freestyle session, and I remember Chris had some dudes up there freestyling. He was like, anybody want to rock? Come up. And I remember a young Fife dog was right next to me in the cut. And this is when they had El Segundo was their single. And he was like, yo, can I get on? Can I get on? And I was like, yo, I'm DJing. I'm like, yo, it's not up to me, man. You got to ask Chris. I can't say who can get on. And I remember afterwards, there was like a little show, and I came down into the crowd, and another group walked up to me. Other guys walked up to me and said, yo, we got a little rhyme. Could we get on? And it was Lord Jamal. And I was like, once again, I said, yo, I can't, you got to talk to Chris. I can't, just let anybody on stage. It's not up to me. And that's the first time I met Lord Jamal. And I told him this when I was on his show. I did his show 3 years ago. I told him that's the first time I remember meeting him was that night. And maybe the next week, I was DJing again, and the marketing people from Elektra gave me the brand new album of One for All, Brand Nubians. That whole album was brand new. She gave me 2 copies. I didn't even know what was on it. And I remember I had it. I was like, damn, I should throw something on from this album. And shout out to my man Mick Boo, D Nice's cousin and DJ, was standing right next to me. He was like, yo, throw on One for All. That's on all the mixtapes uptown. I was like, okay, One for All. Let me find One for All. I'm about to throw it on. One for All, Brand Nubian. And I remember their clique was in the building, and they started going crazy. You could see like a little section. They was going nuts. And I was like, oh shit. So that's Brand Nubians. They was right there. Um, going at it. But I used to get a bunch of records, like a bunch of artists used to walk up to me just handing me records to play. The Kid Capri walked up to me. I didn't even know he was a DJ and gave me his record, The Apollo. I remember Special K and Teddy Ted walked up to me with their new artist, Ed OG. They said, "We got this new song. I got to have it. Can you play it?" And I listened to the headphones, like, this is dope. Just threw it on. I say all that to say that first time I met Brand Nubians was at SOBs. And then I got to know each one of them individually, all super cool brothers. Shout out to Brand Nubians. I could probably go on about them for a while, but um, I produced a song with Pooh back in 2011 that never came out. Um, the same record company that I put out my BDP album, my collaboration mixtape with KRS, they were going to put out a brand new Grand Poobah album. And I gave Poobah some tracks and he picked two. And one of them had the late, great Biz Markie, I think that's here. The late, great Biz Markie was singing on the hook. So it was Biz singing, Poobah rhyming, and I did the track. And it was actually pretty dope, but it never came out. So shout out to Grand Pooh and the whole crew. But yeah, that's my Brand Nubian story. Well, some of them. If I think off the top of my head, I probably got bunches of them. A still says, KP, I want one of those shirts, but I need at least a 4X and my name on the back if possible. I don't have control of that. The company that's making them, I think it only goes up to 2X. And I gotta look and see if we can do special things on the back. But thank you so much for even considering picking up the shirts. I got one on right now. This is a double X in the oversized t-shirt style. The link is in the description below if you want to get a shirt. I don't think they're making the 4X, bro. Uh, Silk Child, what up? Let's go Friday. What up, Silk Child? Um, JT, you're going to bring this up and blow all of our minds again. 2 months ago today, the Knicks won the NBA championship, completing the first ever double league championship champions and NBA Cup winners. That NBA Cup, I'm a little dubious on that NBA Cup, man. It just came out of nowhere. Seems like a money grab, but all right. And they beat the same team in the cup, in both the cup and the championship. Uh, See you guys talking about Shine and Dr. Dre. That's interesting. Hey, Tracy. Um, Jack Swagger, what up? The Real Chef Daddy, what up? Falling behind once again. Anton Candy, haven't seen you in a while. What up? MMA Crossfire, what up? Mark Thompson, what up? Uh, Dion Cruz. CMC in the place to be, what up? Um, Gregory Nutter says, definitely Knicks destroy the Spurs. I'm not a fan of Spurs. Knicks embarrassed them. And Knicks embarrassed everybody. I said it then and I'll say it now. The way the Knicks were playing in June, they would have beat any team in the league. Yeah, B-Ball says AKA gentrification. Um, PBB NYC KP, are you for gentrification or nah? I have mixed emotions, but I'm leaning towards nah. Um, what I like, um, the crime rate in New York City has plummeted from when I grew up in New York City, when it was the crime capital of America for like 2 decades. And now it's one of the safest cities in the world. I don't, and I'm very happy about that. I don't know what, if you want to call it gentrification, whatever that reason is, that's good. I'm down with anybody being able to live anywhere and being able to walk around and enjoy themselves in peace. I'm with that. I'm not with um, the culture and the unique things that make an area what it is and what it's known for being removed and replaced with something generic. New York had stores, spots, and things, areas about New York that made it unique to anywhere else in the world. And if you take stores in an area like that, subtract the people and subtract the stores and replace it with Starbucks and things like that, a store you could find anywhere in the world, it takes away from the uniqueness. I think a lot of what made New York unique is being removed. I think a lot of the energy and grit of New York that made it the most innovative place in modern history, I think is being removed. And the cost of living and rents have skyrocketed to the point where people who grew up here can't even afford to live here anymore. And they have to not only move out of their homes, but leave the city. And it's being replaced by uh, people of a different economic class that's not from the city, and it's changed tremendously. Um, Shockingly, almost, to be in Brooklyn where I grew up. Like I said, I was just there yesterday, and it's shocking how different it is. Um, they said New York City has the highest rents now in the country, and it's 95% to capacity now as far as apartments go. And the reason the rents are so high is because the product is not matching the demand. There's so many people that want to move to New York now because the crime rate is down. So many people want to move to New York, there's not enough housing. So now that there is housing, the competition for the housing is so great that landlords are just shooting the rents up. You want to spend $3,000 for a studio? Come on. And somebody else will go, I'll give you 3,500 for it. Oh, really? I'll take it. And somebody else will go, I'll give you 4,000 for it. Okay, I'll take it. It just keeps going up. Um, I think that's not good. So they got to build more housing, but they're going to build more housing, but for who? More people that's not from here. It's tough. Overall, I'm going to say no to gentrification. 49 Nell, do you think Run DMC could have been larger if they were signed to Def Jam instead of Profile? I don't think Run DMC could have been any bigger. The Run DMC run that they had from 83 to like 87, 86, 87, I don't think any label, they were bigger than rap. And the heights that they reached, I don't know if they could have reached any more heights. There was no more heights to go. I don't think Def Jam could have got them any more MTV play or any more radio play or made the songs bigger. Um, and they had access to the brainchilds behind Def Jam were also the brainchilds behind Run DMC. Russell Simmons and the producer Rick Rubin, who produced Raising Hell. So I don't know if they could have gotten bigger. And they still, shout out to the greatness of Run DMC. I always talk about on this channel, I think there was about an 18-month period between 92 into 93 that was the most competitive and the most creative and dopest time in the history of hip hop. 92 to 93. 88 was dope too, but 92 into 93 was if you were dope in that era, you were among the best to ever do it. And Run DMC, after 10 years, they came out in 83. Run DMC in 1993, 10 years in hip hop is like 25 years in any other genre. Dropped Down with the King and had one of their biggest records and went platinum in 93, 10 years later. So they were still going platinum on Profile in 93. So like I said, I don't think they could have they got everything they were supposed to get, I think. Um, just my opinion. B-Boy says, I stand correct. It was 91 Cypress Hill first album. Typo, yeah. Because I remember when that album dropped. D. Nizzy says, KP, you talking about the cast. What cast? Uh, Patrick Y, what up? Poetic Mal, what up? Karis One and BD unreleased collaboration. Karis and BDP unreleased collaboration music that you can tell us about. No, I don't know any KRS and BDP unreleased collaborations. I don't have that much unreleased BDP stuff. Chris would have all of that. BDP, KRS Kenny Parker Lost Tapes, that I have. One day I will let off practice tapes that we made in the crib. One of them is on this channel. It's called, I think I dropped it about 2 years ago. It's called BDP Demo 1993, I think it's called. It was a song that we were working out that was supposed to be on Return of the Boom Bap, but it didn't make the cut. But the beat is there and the rhymes are there. The hook, Kid Capri did the hook, but it wasn't there. It wasn't there. It was done at my crib, like a little handheld mic going through like a mixer. We were working it out, and I put that up. But there's a bunch of stuff like that I will let off one day. Latrice says, that is what I love about KRS shows. People can showcase. Yeah. And I've been fortunate to have DJ'd for some dope MCs who have jumped on stage with BDP. I've been so fortunate, y'all, in my hip hop career as a hip hop fan. I mean, I've DJ'd people that have come on our set in my lifetime. Kane, Heavy D, Dougie Fresh, Grandmaster Caz. I've DJ'd for Grandmaster Caz many times. He's come on our set. And many times he was just chilling, and I'd be like, come on, Caz, get on the mic, get on the mic. And I'll give him my mic, mic that's I have up at the DJ booth. I'll unravel it and give it to Caz because I love to see him rap. Buckshot, ODB, Redman, Parrish Smith, Lord Finesse. Like, I can't even remember all the people who we've pulled on stage in my time. Diamond D. I remember DJing for Diamond D and messing up. Threw it all, jigger off a little bit. He caught it. I apologized to him afterwards. He was like, all good. Probably Fat Joe, Bumpy Knuckles, just so many people Chris has no problem pulling people on stage. Some MCs don't like bringing people out because they might upstage them. And so they're a little leery about having certain groups open up for them or bringing people out on their set because they don't want to look bad. But here at BDP, we are the exact opposite. Come one, come all. We're not worried about looking bad. As a matter of fact, I think it makes the show look dope when some MC jumps on that you least expects and blows the roof off. Um, so we had no problems pulling people on stage, no problems jumping on other people's sets at all. Let me make this big again. Is it DBL5KD? We're going to need to hear that ODB DJing story. Well, it's up. Funny you should ask. I have an epic fail on this channel. Go back, I think it's 2.5 years. Everybody on this channel, I need to go back and watch a lot of my epic fails because a lot of the stuff that I talk about here, I go into detail in my epic fails. It's called BDP Epic Fails Wu-Tang Edition. I tell that exact story, and it's pretty funny too. With ODB, I've seen ODB a few times. Chris told me a funny story about ODB one time. You know, for those that don't know, ODB was a wild brother. Um, and he was known for being a little intoxicated sometimes and coming on stage and just being so like wild that like security really had to get him off. I remember one time I was at a concert and I forgot who was supposed to be performing, but somehow I think it was Raekwon, and then out of nowhere, Ghostface was there. This is when like the purple tape was out. And we was about to get like an impromptu Ray and Ghost show. Everybody was like, woo! And then I remember ODB came on the set and grabbed the mic and just started wilding, just saying wild stuff and going so crazy that they really had to shut this thing down. And we didn't even get to see Ray and Ghost. I was right there. I say all that to say, one time at the Palladium, I forgot who was on the set, and they were calling people up. I forgot whose show it was, but ODB went up there and started acting wild again. And I think he knocked over the DJ turntable setup and everything, like, rah! Knocked it over. They said he was like wilding. Chris was like he was wilding. Like they like took him off stage, and he came down. He was just acting wild. And then he saw Chris. He saw Chris, and he's acting wild. And he just said, "Hey, what's up, Chris? How you doing?" He said, "Hey, what's up?" And then he just went back to acting wild again. Oh, Chris said, "I just saw him, and he just like straightened up and was just cool." And then he disappeared. Um, I was not there for that, but Chris told me that story. I was there to see him wild out at the Rain Ghost show. Nobody could control him. I'm thinking of another time I saw ODB. I've seen him a few times, y'all. He was always cool. Oh, and one time he was in front of, I think it was a party that became the tunnel. It wasn't the tunnel yet. The tunnel was a different party that had moved all around. Shout out to Jessica Rosenblum, one of the biggest hip hop promoters of the 90s that nobody mentions. Stress Entertainment. She used to manage Funkmaster Flex. She's the one that got him on Hot 97. And she's always been cool with me. I remember her from the Powerhouse days, 1990, all the way through the 2000s. She was doing the biggest parties. I think she was down with Puffy too. Anyway, I remember coming to a party she was at, and it was a lot of people, and they was like not trying to let too many people in because it was packed. I came with a couple of my peoples, and they gave me passes to get in. And so while we waiting to come in, I see ODB with like 15 dudes. Must be Brooklyn Zoo. And I remember that he came to the door and they was like, nah, bro. I don't know if he had done something in the past or he had too many people, but they was like, no. And I could see security shaking their head, no. And then he called Jessica over and he said something in her ear. I don't know what he said in her ear. But the next thing you know, she was like, they're good. Let him in. It was like 15, maybe 20 of them. Brooklyn Zoo had to be like 20 of these dudes. And whatever he said in her ear, I don't know what it was, but next thing you know, she was like, go, and slid all of them in there. I saw this with my own two eyes. Shout out to Jessica Rosenblum. I would love to know what he said. Um, but yeah, that's just a many of a bunch of times that I saw ODB. Uh, he used to hang out a lot, always super cool with me, never had any problems. And I could tell a real dude or dudes that's cool with me when they speak to me before I see them. A lot of times people are cool with you when you bump into them. But if you don't see them, and we've all done this, I can even say, I'm not going to act holier than thou. I've done this myself. Sometimes you see people that you're not trying to see right now. So you see them, but they don't really see you. So you just kind of keep it moving. Like if you're across the street or you see them down the block or whatever, and you see them and you're like, oh, there goes so and so. And you either know that um, they're going to ask you for something, or they might just be a problem, or maybe just not right now. So you might just keep it moving. But I can always tell when someone's cool with me because they'll stop and talk to me even if I don't see them. And one of those people was ODB. Was a couple of times I was somewhere just chilling with my peoples and I didn't even see them. And somebody tapped me. I turn around, it's Dirt Dog. What up, Dirt Dog? And it was always love with ODB. I don't know that many members of Wu-Tang. I always say, my man's is the Jizza. That's my dog. And Master Killer, that's my dude. Those are like my two dudes. I've met Method Man once. Um, I met Raekwon. He was cool. I met Ghost a couple times. They were cool. They was with other people, so it was all cool. But I can't say like I know them. I never met RZA, none of them. But ODB, Jizza, and Master Killer. That's my guys. But that's a long-winded ODB story. Uh, how far behind am I? Super far. Jason Wall, did you hear the Naughty by Nature story about Trex shooting at Vin for pulling a gun on him? No, but I've heard they've had beef in the past, and I hate hearing about that. Naughty by Nature for us, they're like our cousins, man. That's like straight up cuz. All of them. And so to hear them beefing, whether it's true or false, I haven't heard about that, but I've heard they had beef in the past. All three of them have been beefing with one another at one point or another. And I got nothing but love for all of those dudes. That's our cousins. Um, and it saddens me to hear that. I'm glad that if this happened, that it didn't escalate into somebody getting hurt. That's terrible. Henry Sedillo, what up? Latrice Washington, New York City, safest city in the world now? Yeah, per capita. When they talk about safest city, they're talking about crimes per 100,000. That's how they measure. So per 100,000, you got to know also that New York City is the biggest city in the world too. Um, well, in America, I think in the world, because Brooklyn is the fourth largest city in the world. I know Miami now has so many people that it might have took New York over, but there's like 9 million people in New York in like a small area. Um, there used to be 8 million stories in the naked city. Now I think it's 9 million up to. Um, but per 100,000, New York is one of, if not the safest big city in America. Now, that's how they used to gauge murder capital, crime capital per 100,000. That's why at the time when like DC moved to the top of the pile, it was per 100,000. At that time, DC, I believe during the crack era, or in the mid to late 80s into the 90s, they were having like 300 endings per year, and it jumped to 600. But per 100,000, that put them at the top. Now, New York in that same period was way up there. New York was pushing 2,000 endings per year. Some years it'd be 1,700, 18, 19, 2,000, back to 19s. We're averaging like almost 2,000 endings every year. But per 100,000, it was less than DC, but still way up there. Now New York is averaging like 300, from 2,000 to 300. That's a huge jump. 300 endings in a city the size of New York puts it in the safest in the world, in America. Because I'm gonna say in America, because South America, them places, some of those third world countries, they are out of control. And I know Miami, I think in 1980, 81, took over from New York as the ending capital of the world. Back when that Cuban boat lift and all of the drugs came in, and Griselda Blanco off the hook. That era, they went to number one. Then they came down. Then New York was number one again. Then DC, um, with all them dudes, Wayne Perry and all them, they went to number one. Then it came back down. But yeah, right now New York is considered very safe. Crazy J, sub KP, I'm a big fan. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Super far behind, y'all, so I'm going to jump down. Bebo says that is a well said definition of gentrification from KB. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Some people will disagree, but the Tougher Than Leather album just didn't hit. Run DMC. You know what I think? First of all, I think that album was a year. That album had been sitting for a year because they had contract disputes with Profile. So it dropped in 88 when a lot of things changed. Imagine if that album had dropped in 87, might have been a different story. Also, I think the first single, Whose House? Run's House. I think that was dated. Because when he said that in Crush Groove in 85, that was just the illest. We've had a lot of superstars on this stage tonight, but I want y'all to know one thing. Whose house? Run's house. That was crazy in Crush Groove. But 3 years later, Whose House Run is not, it wasn't the same thing to me. I think Beats to the Rhymes should have been the first single. But nonetheless, I think there was a changing of the guard by 88, and the album was dated and it just didn't hit. And I think the one they dropped in 90, or was it 89, the Avenue, whatever, I forgot, that didn't really hit either. But then Down with the Kings That album had that one. All you need is one big one, y'all. You don't need to have a whole album for just one giant one is all it takes. And I'm gonna say this too: the dopeness of Run DMC. Run was still dope on that album, on that song with Jagged Edge. Let's Get Married. Remember his little rhyme at the end? That was banging. Run still sounded kind of crispy, even in like when that song came out, like 99, 2000. Run still sounded kind of dope. Shout out to the great Run DMC. You guys know how much I love Run DMC around here. CMC says Run DMC was so large you wouldn't matter what label they were on, pretty much. Um, Down with the King for years, about 10 of them. Yep, Jason Wall, that was big. Uh, Crusher Blackwell, I kind of saw this, but I didn't see exactly what he said. What do you think of Lionel Richie shading Chris Brown and Usher at his concert? Me, I would have shot back at him for that horrible song, Dance on the Ceilings, back in the mid 80s he put out. First of all, I thought that song wasn't horrible. That song probably went to #1. Lionel Richie, first of all, you can't count any one song. Lionel Richie had one of the greatest careers, and he's one of the greatest songwriters that ever lived. So any one song, you can't count his whole, from the Commodores through. He had one of the runs as a songwriter and performer, one of the top 5 runs probably ever. That song to me fit with the mid 80s hokiness. Um, but I think uh, it probably would have been doper if he embraced. If you think there's a problem with Chris Brown and Usher, embrace them. Talk to them. Don't diss to make yourself look bigger. Like these young fools, they ain't do it like I did it. Chris Brown and Usher did not do it like he did it, even though they both have had tremendous careers in their era. Um, Competition is less for like a Chris Brown, but still, um, I would have liked to have seen Lionel Richie put his arms around him. I didn't see exactly what he said, but I personally wouldn't have went about it that way. Uh, DA, Tokyo, the biggest city in the world, very low crime. Maybe it is now. Maybe Tokyo now is the biggest city. I'm not sure. I know New York was. New York is right up there. 9 million people on a 13-mile island is crazy. India might be the biggest per size. There's like 1 billion people in a country the size of like Texas. 1 billion. They wilding over there. Um, yeah, Japanese culture in general, the petty crimes and the low level crimes, I think it's just not even their culture. Like I don't think they've ever had a crime problem. JT, thank you so much. Hey KP, how about a Knicks versus 76ers season opener watch party? October 21st. Your game 4 party and commentary was legendary. Thank you so much. Um, I'm down to do that. I'm down to do more NBA watch parties if you guys would enjoy it. I don't really watch a lot of teams though. I have individuals. But anything with the Knicks, and of course, you know, guys know I love Luca. Wow, did you see the Lakers got sold? The guy who bought the Lakers less than a year ago just sold it. There's a lot of scandal behind it. I was watching something on, I don't know exactly, but something is fishy about that. You don't sell the Lakers, not after buying it a year ago and having all of these plans, and then all of a sudden you sell it. Something is going on. I think there's an FBI investigation behind this guy. It's all going to come out in a minute, but yeah, I'm down with that, JT. I'm down. Let's rock and roll. Tokyo, 14 million in a city, 41 million in metro area. You said 14 million in a city. That's a lot of people. They probably are the biggest now. I don't have the stats in front of me. I just know that New York is considered the biggest city. I know it's probably the biggest in America then, but it's right up there. But I say all that to say, like I said, per 100,000, New York is way up there, which is a good thing. B-Ball said with an assist from Pete Rock of Run DMC. Yeah, and CL was on there. But even if you listen to that record, they all were dope on there. But I thought DMC had a really was great on the end of that. Only G-O-D, if the G-O-D be in me, then the king I be. I forgot something like that, but I always thought that line was crazy. Um, DAKP, are you doing custom beats these days? I've been working on a lot of music. I don't know if it's custom. I'm still listening to your stuff from Sex and Violence Daily, bro. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. I don't know if you saw my Sex and Violence breakdown I did a couple years ago, but those that did would know that that album is very bittersweet to me for different reasons. So when people come on and tell me that they like the album, it really means a lot. Um, Thank you, DA. New York City has the highest rap population on earth, though. We've talked about that a few times on this channel. Actually, according to, I think it's Orkin, New York has dropped to third, which I find shocking considering the amount of rats that I see in New York. But I think Chicago and somewhere in California has passed us. We either was second or third. And like I said, I cannot believe Chicago got more rats than New York City. What's going on in Chi? What's going on in you summertime Chis out there? Y'all rats beat New York. If you could beat New York in rats, that's crazy. Because DJing here in New York, I get home late at night and I walk through. Sometimes I walk through Manhattan on my way home. Uh, and you really have to walk in the street because there's so many rats. So I can't imagine um I can't even imagine there being more rats. Um, Was KRS in a Down with the King video? Not only was he there, first of all, just about everybody in rap showed up for that video. They were telling people to come down. Yes, he was there, and I was there. I didn't get in. I came and I left, and Chris came after me, so I didn't even know he was there. But yes, he's in that video. He loves Run DMC. Um, for those that got the book, you would know the relationship with Run DMC and KRS and how it all came about. I go into great detail in the book. CMC. So I'm watching clips of De La talking about being in the studio with Tip early 90s. Maceo says that Tip would play an ill beat and erase it and did it again. Was Tip playing mind games with De La? Maybe, but I also know Q-Tip is such a perfectionist that he might have actually thought that the beat wasn't up to par. Chris Lighty told me out his mouth, rest in peace to the great Chris Lighty, that he literally had to take the album out of Q-Tip's hand, Low End Theory, and turn it into Jive. At that time, he was managing Tribe. He had to, Q-Tip was still mixing the album. It was not finished. The Low End Theory, as we know it today, was not finished yet. They literally took it from Tip and turned it in. And that album that we all know and love is an unfinished album. So I can see um, Tip playing something that would be banging and it's be like, this ain't it. And I believe Tribe wanted We Got the Jazz to be the first single. And Jive said Check the Rhyme is a better single. And I believe there was some friction there. But Jive eventually won out, and that was the right choice. And I love We Got the Jazz, by the way. But I also love Check the Rhyme. First of all, that whole album. But I think Jive made the right call to have Check the Rhyme be the first single. Your single is so important, y'all. I don't think people understand how important picking the right singles on an album can be. I can go into detail. I could talk to y'all about it if y'all want and show examples, but the right single changes everything. And Check the Rhyme was the right single for that album. It was more uh, bouncy, club ready, more catchy. That was the song that got the play, that got the album to where it needed to go. And then Scenario blew so big as an album cut that they had to make that the second single. And then the third single was We Got the Jazz. Um, but yeah, I don't know if he was playing mind games. He could have, but I'm gonna believe that um I'm gonna believe that it was just tip being tipped. DA, I saw a group of rats rob a girl on Jerome Avenue in '98. What? What are you talking about, bro? Jerome Avenue in the Bronx is real. And the rats in New York are so used to humans that they're not afraid. Yo, the train stations in New York at night after a certain hour, they own the platform. They're like, we're here now. If you want to wait for the train, you wait on the tracks. I could go on and on about the rat stories, y'all. I got some good ones in the book too. Um, Jack Swag says KRS invites everybody on stage, known or unknown. Yes, correct. Dirktown, yo, Kim, does BDP have a lot of songs that were never released through the years? If so, will they ever see the light of day? I don't know. That's a KRS question. I don't think there's a lot of songs unreleased, but there are songs that never came out. Yes. Um, Mike Rock says per capita is used in final numbers. I'm not sure what that means. Don't fall for it when it's used. Well, statistics can be used in many different ways. You could take the same stat and put some spin on it and go in a bunch of different directions. But we do need some way to measure uh, certain social and political and economic uh, phenomenon. You need some way to measure these things. So it might not be foolproof, but if you put everything through the same measurements, you can kind of get a feel. Lindell Handy, what up? All right, I'm going to jump down because, as you guys all know, I fall behind pretty quickly on this channel. Dancing on the Ceiling was a huge song. Yeah, it might have went to #1. But like I said, that's why I say every week on this channel, there's no such thing as dope and whack. Because the same way that you think Dancing on the Ceiling was a terrible record, someone else might be, that was the greatest record Lionel Richie ever made. And it went to #1. So a million people bought it, at least. Bought it. Um, uh, but who knows? KRS said a long time ago, like Lionel Richie, your whole style is bitchy. He said that on Mad Ism. And that was the time when Lionel Richie got caught cheating on his wife with the girl, another woman. And the wife, I believe, is how the story had in the paper. The wife came to the girl's house and beat her ass and Lionel Richie's ass. Shout out to Lionel Richie's wife. She was a gangster. And I remember around that time, Chris said that line, like Lionel Richie, your host, Richie. And I remember teasing Chris about that. Cause I was like, yo, I can't believe you said that. Cause I love Lionel Richie. I love the Commodores. I love Lionel Richie's music. And I'm like, how you gonna diss my man Lionel Richie like that? I was mad at Chris and we was joking and teasing him when that record was out. I remember that. But yeah, he did say that. Sydney Rhodes, hello, it's me. You're looking for gigantic song. Lionel didn't have to play Chris Brown like that. Maybe a jail reference. I gotta go and look and see what exactly did he say. Um, Keisha here says, why you got pictures of men on your wall, Nika? I'm not even gonna comment on that. I mean, it is what it is. I got pictures of men, and there's more men that I need to put up, that I need to pay homage to. There's more. I just haven't had a chance to put up more pictures. There's for if it bothers you, I'm sorry, because there's more men that are coming up on my wall. Bobby says, Lionel Richie said what we were doing back 40 years ago, only difference is between then and now, we didn't go to jail. That's what he said. That's a whack thing to say. And what Chris Brown, Usher didn't go to jail. So I guess he's talking about Chris Brown. And he didn't go, what he got in trouble for was assaulting Rihanna. And I think he has some gang related stuff. But if Lionel Richie is talking about what we were doing back then, if you talk about assaulting women, we were assaulting women 40 years ago, but we didn't go to jail. That's whack if he said that. And your wife beat your ass. So I hope he didn't say that, y'all. I'm just gonna act like I don't know. Some of these things I didn't see it, so Sidney Rose says he was investigated by DOJ and Trump's people board at Scam City. Well, he's being investigated right now. And it's one of the Kushner brothers, but I think he has had a falling out with the men Kushner. That's the story that they're putting out. The Kushner that's down with Trump is MAGA, and the brother or cousin, whatever it is, he's a Democrat who voted for Kamala. And so I think there's some friction there. That's the story that's going out there. But nonetheless, there's some scandal there with that Lakers thing. Let me jump down. I keep saying I'm gonna jump down, but Red One said the rats in Skid Row the size of a chihuahua. Skid Row, I hear a lot of talk about Skid Row, being probably the most famous homeless area probably in the country. I know here in New York they talk about the Bowery. I know about the Bowery since I was a little kid as being a homeless area, but I've heard about Skid Row a lot, and I've never been there. But um, Mike Rock says, here's how you can play with numbers using per capita. Per capita, New Jersey is the most densely populated U.S. state. Well, it could be. It could be. It's the amount of size compared to the amount of people. It could be. But you could play with any number, really. But you still need some kind of measurement. All right, let me jump down a little bit. I'm not that far behind. Check the Rhyme video is legendary with Fife in the Seton Hall jersey. Yes. Rosmel said the fourth single was bugging out. I don't think it was a fourth single. I think that was the B side of um I do believe that was the B side of uh We Got the Jazz. They shot a double video, one for half We Got the Jazz and half Bugging Out. So I guess it was like a double single, but We Got the Jazz was the single, and it had a remix too. What a great album. Check the Rhyme was definitely the right choice. I've actually did something right, you know? Getting getting in before KP pulls out the BDP medallion, yes, because like I said, I believe Jive hurt KRS-One's career, BDP and KRS-One. I have yet to do that rant, but one day I will. I think KRS would have been bigger on Def Jam for sure. Uh, uh, let's see. Uh, I lived on Jerome Avenue and Bailey Avenue back in the day. Did y'all ever come through in the 90s, 2000s? I'm sure. We used to live near Jerome Avenue when I was a kid because we lived up on Sedgwick next to Cool Herc. And I believe Jerome is somewhere around there. I don't remember too. I remember Jerome Avenue being a street that we used to either pass by or be around when I was a little kid, but I don't remember its the proximity. Benny Doyle says he's already 2 scrolls in to the Benny Doyle scroll down. Yes, I am, because I've been falling behind. PBB says Left My Wallet and El Segundo was so different and dope at the time. That beat and style was something new. It was, but that single didn't really do that well. I've heard Tribe, I've heard out there mouths that they hated that record. And their careers, I believe that album and Tribe had stalled when that single came out. It did not do what they thought. But thankfully, Jive believed in them. Because you got to imagine that album, the first single from People's Instinctive Travel was Description of a Fool. 12-inch single. Came out, no video, but it came out nice and went. Then they did El Segundo, which I like the Reggae Vampire remix um, with Fife. That's when Fife first I first heard his voice. No, I first heard his voice on Buddy. That's a lie, but first heard his voice with Tribe, and didn't really take off, and it was stalled. And then a lot of record companies would have dropped them at that point, but they dropped the Bonita Apple Bomb, and from that point on, they never looked back. Um, let's see. So Grubb said, Mr. Parker thought we were in overtime, but he looked at the clock and realized it wasn't that late yet. Yeah, I've been losing track of time on here. Oh, yes. Latrice said, yeah, we all loved Brenda Ritchie. Latrice, you loved her for whipping, whipping is she the goat of ass whipping? Or is Al Green's wife who threw the hot grits on him, is she the goat? I'm not condoling, first of all, any kind of domestic violence, by the way. Um, on either side. But is Brenda Ritchie the GOAT or Al Green's wife or somebody else? Bebo said the trolls are back. Yeah, every so often you get one, but Benny Doyle says, I didn't think Kenny needed to justify posters behind him. No, but I answer all the questions, and comments. Um, and people ask me from time to time, who are the people on the back of my wall? For those that's regulars on the channel, you know who the people are and why I put them there. For those who got the book, really knows why they're on there. And there's people that's missing, I always say. But Yeah, I don't have to explain, but Jason Wall says, "Don't worry, be happy" was a number one jam. Damn, if I said it, you could slap me right here. You know what's funny about that? When Chuck said that, I was done with that song. And it was funny. I used to love that song, Bobby McFerrin. First of all, you know how rare it is for a jazz record to break through? And that record went to number one. That was one of the biggest records of the year. I used to like that. The whistling. I used to like all of that until Chuck said, "You could slap me right here if you hear me singing that." I was like, "Yep, it's done." Like when he said Elvis was the hero the most, F him and John Wayne. I didn't know what either of them had said or done. But once Chuck said F him. Mm. And so Kenny said, just because they didn't go to jail doesn't mean they weren't breaking the law. Times were different back then. Yeah, well, that still applies. There's people right now who should be in jail for stuff that you see on TV, but they don't go to jail. Yeah, I see. Thank you so much for yeah. PBB says, KP, she sounds young. I guess you were supposed to have big booty strippers on your wall. I don't know what people be expecting. You could only be yourself, man. That's all you could do, man. And you put yourself out there, and there's people that's not gonna like it. The Kenny Parker Show is not for everybody. And if you come on to the Kenny Parker Show and you don't like it, you have the right to immediately click off. There's thousands of people talking about hip hop, maybe hundreds of thousands of people talking about hip hop in a given channel, through YouTube. I'm sure you could find somebody that's more of your suiting. Yeah, it's Trump's son-in-law brother and his group who reportedly purchased the Lakers. Well, it's him and it's the former president of Disney. It's an interesting pairing. They were trying to get in. The NBA is about to expand into Vegas, and they were trying to get in on that bid. And for some reason, I don't know how they found out that the Lakers were up for sale. I don't even know how that could even be possible, y'all. There's got to be more to this. Dude bought it 9 months ago, and that was shocking. Um, but it's Kushner, the brother of Jared Kushner, and Iger from Disney. Interesting things go on, man. Vincent Ross, thank you. Who are you pictured with under Biz pick? Oh, that's Master G from the Sugar Hill Gang. For those that read the book, I keep saying it, but for those that read the book would understand what Rapper's Delight meant in my family's life. And it changed not only music, literally changed music, but in my specific household, there's a whole story behind that. And I've never met any of them. I remember years ago, we did an old school rap show. This had to be in like 95 at the Garden. Bunch of groups on the bill and Sugar Hill Gangs on the bill. I remember me and Chris were walking through, I think it was right before we were about to go on, we were walking through and Wonder Mike was like over there. And I remember Chris going, "Oh shit, it's Wonder Mike." Like that. Like even him. I mean, BDP had done, this is 9 years into our career, unprecedented damage in hip hop. And Chris was still like, "Oh shit, it's Wonder Mike." And so years later, but we didn't, I think he just said, "What's up?" or whatever. But you could see he was excited. Um, and then years later, this was at the 50th anniversary of hip hop block party. I walked into Chris's trailer. He had a Winnebago. I walked in and Grandmaster Caz was sitting there, the great Cold Crush Grandmaster Caz sitting there. Scorpio from the Furious Five, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, was sitting there. And Master G of the Sugar Hill Gang, all three of them was sitting in Chris's dressing room. I fucking lost it. It's part of my French. As a fan, I'm like, oh shit, it's Master G. And I just started fanning out. I didn't even care. And I said, yo, I had 80 million questions. And I sat and talked to him for like an hour. And I was supposed to do his show. And somehow it never works out. I don't know how this didn't happen, but I talked to Master G for an hour. And he gave me crazy insight on Sugar Hill and everything back in those days. And I talked to Scorpio too. It was crazy. And I took that picture. I said, can I please take a pic? He says, yes. And I took that picture and it's on my wall of Master G. So to answer your question, that is Master G from the record that changed the game. Did you ever do shows with storytellers? Did you ever do shows with low profile WC and DJ Aladdin? Not to my knowledge. We did so many shows with so many people. And also, a lot of times, groups that opened up for us, by the time we got to the venue, they had already went on. So even if we did a show with them, we might not have seen them. But if there was a group that I really wanted to see, if I remember, I would get to the venue early. First of all, I used to like to get to the venue early anyway, but I would get to the venue early so I could check out the other groups. That's why I've been blessed to see live just about everybody. So that's why when I give my opinions, it's still just my opinion. But when I give my opinions of who I think is the dopest live performers and stuff, I've seen just about everybody multiple times. And I think 85% of it was whack, in my opinion. But no, I don't think we've ever did shows with them. Uh, and now I'm gonna jump down a little bit. Well, this thing just skipped a bunch of comments, so it jumped down for me. So if you left a comment in the last 10 minutes, it's gone. Uh, let's see. MK Ultra said Chubby Checker and Lionel Richie on the phone together right now plotting. Okay, yes. I got nothing but love for Chubby Checker and Lionel Richie, two Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. Shout out to both of them. Okay. I got to cover my disclaimer every time because I don't want that smoke. Um, Mike Rock says, I got the chat scrolling on the right side of the screen. I see the pics of Flash and Super Rhymes. Thank you for recognizing them. These are great men, man, that made hip hop what it is today. I mean, you got to pay homage when you get to see some of these people. We have literally living legends that are still alive, walking around. If you see one of them and you love hip hop like I love it, just say, "Hey, man, thank you." You don't gotta kiss ass or do anything like that, but if you just shake a guy's hand or just say, "Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate what you did, man." Give dudes their flowers while they're alive. I hate when people pass away and then everybody posts a picture of them and the person together. Their record sales and spins go way up. You weren't listening to these people before they passed away. Like you had to be reminded that they were dope. Give people their flowers when they're alive. There's no shame in that. And if somebody acts funny towards you for you showing them love, There's something wrong with them. There's not something wrong with you. If you show a person love and they don't reciprocate, that's their problem. And this happened to me. 90% of the people I ever showed love to were super cool. But there's been people I've given love to. Hey, like what you do, introduce myself, and they acted funny. That's on you, man. PE was so hot and respected in '89. Chuck could have said only suckers eat Mickey D's, and a lot of black people would have boycotted Ronald McDonald. Absolutely. Absolutely. We were hanging on every word of these people. Shout out to the great Chuck D. Who asked me to come on the show? Nobody set that up. Let's set that up. Hey, look who we got in the building. Hold on. Hold on. Let me get my vocals together. Anyway, what's up? Where you been? Charlie Dramatic, why don't you have any Italians on the wall? Who said that? Now, I know it was Do the Right Thing, but it wasn't, it was that dude who was always starting the trouble. The dude who they stepped on his sneakers, right? I forgot his name. Um, in the movie. What was his name in Do the Right Thing? No, that's a lie. He said, why don't you have any black people on the wall? That's what he said. Yeah, but who was the one who said that? What was his name? That's a good trivia question. Without looking it up, who was that guy's name? What was his name? It wasn't Radio Raheem. Who was that guy? Why does it feel like there's a major earthquake every month in the world? I don't know. You are correct. Jason Wall says, I go by the unforgettable name of the man they call the Master G. What a great record that was. Even though Rappers Delight is shrouded in controversy and scandal, unfortunately, the two real MCs in the group got caught up in the foolishness of one of them. But what a great introduction for the world to rap music. You could say what you want to say about Rappers Delight, but it did the job it was supposed to do. One of the greatest crimes in music history was what happened between Big Bang Hank and Kaz. We all know the story. I'm not going to go too deep, but man, yeah, it does seem like there's a major earthquake, but I think a real scary one is coming, like a New York City one or something like that, where we're totally unprepared. Um, Thank you, Tracy. Hit the like, fam, please. Um, let's see. Oh, I saw this. Russell Westbrook retired after 18 years. Is he a Hall of Famer? First ballot. First ballot. I guess the criteria is supposed to be, you know how I feel about these Hall of Fames. Were you a top player at your position? And for how many years were you a top player at your position? Russell Westbrook is an MVP and was the first player to average a triple double since Oscar Robertson in 1962. You know what's crazy about that 1962? Oscar Robertson, first of all, it was rare for a player to average 30 points a game. That was almost unheard of. Oscar Robertson averaged, I believe, a 30-point triple double, and he came in third. The first time ever in history, and that record lasted for 50, almost 60 years until Russell broke it, I believe. Not broke it, but tied it. Oscar Robertson came in third in MVP voting, and he averaged a 30-point triple double. Wilt Chamberlain averaged 50 points a game and 25 rebounds. Records that will never, ever, ever, ever be broken. And he scored 100, and he came in second in MVP voting. And the winner was Bill Russell, who had the best team. I think that's wild. But to answer your question, Russell Westbrook, it's a shame he didn't retire with a championship. I feel his style of play is not conducive to championship. It's too one-dimensional, I think. Not one-dimensional, I mean ball dominant. And I don't think it would translate to a championship. I think the saddest thing for Russell Westbrook was when he was still nice, not in his prime, but still nice. He went to the Lakers with LeBron. He thought that was his best chance. He had LeBron and AD, and he went there and it didn't work out. And then his career was never really the same since then. But he is a valid Hall of Famer. And shout out to Russell Westbrook, who went 100% at all times on the court. Um, Great career. Um, let's see. Ultra says, KP, have you heard the new Inspector Deck album yet? No. Very dope. The Rebel INS is underrated. Yes, he is. He's probably one of my favorite Wu-Tang members ever. He's one of the most, I'm not going to say, I don't like the word underrated because I think most people in hip hop pretty much are rated where they should be, on the tier that they should be on. Every once in a while, you could argue that somebody should probably be a tier up, and maybe somebody else who's on a higher tier should probably be a tier down. Maybe if you know, but for the most part, everybody is where they are. Rebel INS, because he's in a group with 9 people, great MCs, he can get lost in the sauce in his own group. But Rebel INS always goes first in a record. That's the rules of Wu-Tang. Um, and he never had the big song by itself. In order to move up that ladder, you got to have a big song, a big national record, or multiple national records, but at least one by yourself. And he never had the big song by himself, and that's what keeps him at a level. He had the talent to do it for sure, but because of one thing or another, it never happened to me. Kenny, you'll be amazed how many hip hop legends there are still alive. I'm not. We always talk about how many people pass on this channel. And it's been a minute since somebody passed, which is good. And we talk about that a lot on this channel. But a lot of them you wouldn't even recognize. And they be walking right around, walking, especially in New York. They're all here, just chilling. Um, Guys who did it for nothing. All they wanted to do is have some fun and be dope on their block, and made a multi-billion-dollar industry that fed us all and made music what it is today. And they don't even get remembered. Sad. Jason Wall says, I'm boycotting the Kenny Parker show until he gets some Italians on the wall and my do the right thing voice. But who said it? I could see the guy's face because he did a bunch of acting, but did he? I want to know who said it. I'm falling behind. Stay black, Mookie. uh, Charlie Dramatic, best comment of the night. Yes, for sure. KP, any Spike Lee stories? No. Um, I met Spike Lee for the very first time like 3 years ago. I was with Chris, and Spike and Chris know each other very well. And Chris was like, "This is my brother Kenny," and Spike just was like, "What's up?" And he kept it moving. I've seen Spike Lee a bunch of times, but I don't know him. Shout out to my man Beast that rolls with Spike. He used to be down with Wyclef and the Fugees, and he rolls with Spike. That's my man. Um, I remember one time Spike Lee was looking for Chris to clear something. This is about 5 years ago. Or this is more like it's about 7 years ago. He was looking for Chris, and it's very hard to get Chris on the phone because his numbers change all the time. And they reached out to me, Spike Lee's people, and I got him in touch with Chris. I was happy to do that. Um, but no, I have no Spike Lee stories except I've seen him out and about. Yeah, Garcia Giancarlo Esposito is his real name. Yes, and he's done a lot of movies. Isn't he one of the dudes that killed Malcolm? But what is his name in the in the thing? Woody scuffed his Jordans too. I thought it was Larry, the dude with the Larry Bird jersey, right? Is that Woody? Or a couple people scuffed his Jordans. Oh, I did see that. Robot Scott, the actor that played Big Pussy from Sopranos, is no longer with us. He passed last week mysteriously in his apartment in the Bronx. I think there's a strong argument that could be made that The Sopranos is the greatest show of all time, pound for pound. Everybody has their own opinion, but there's a strong argument that could be made for that. And Pussy was a major character, and his arc was incredible. The acting on that show was just spectacular. Um, Dope. Robert Troll, yes, when I saw KP in Jersey City, it blew my mind. I told him BDP is my number one. It was all love. Thank you so much. I appreciate that then and now. Um, Kenneth Smith said I didn't look it up. But what was his name in the movie? Hype Style says, I think there should be a movie made about those early Sugar Hill record years and Rapper's Delight. I agree. Sugar Hill Gang and a Grandmaster Caz connection and the controversy deal with it head on. I agree. It has all the elements. A good build up, betrayal, some mob stuff behind the scenes. I think that would be a great story. Um, I consider it a super sad story. KP, any Kid and Play stories? No. Uh, I met Kid. I used to see him out and about. We had a mutual friend say what's up, but I never even had a conversation with him. I don't know him. Play, I've seen Play a couple of times. He never even spoke to me. I gotta be honest. One time, I remember we did a show. I forgot where we were, and Play came in our dressing room, and he walked in and he just spoke to Chris. That's it, and he walked out. And that has happened more times than I can count. And I understand it. When KRS is there, everyone else becomes invisible. Um, there's times when I've been chilling with Chris and my friends, people that know me, that don't know him, will come up and be like KRS and be trying to talk to him. And I'm standing there. We're friends and they don't even see me. I'm 6'6". They can't even see me. So I get it. I understand it 100%. I just think it's funny. But I always notice when certain people take out the time to acknowledge other people in the crew, and I always do that. I remember one time we did 106 in Park. The first time the only time BDP was on 106 in Park. This is when Sneak Attack was about to drop. Sneak Attack album. I remember there's a bunch of us. We had dancers, me, Will, management. It was like 15 of us in the green room. And of course, everybody in BDP, we know AJ from before he was on 106 in Park. Shout out to AJ. That's my dude. Um, AJ don't count because we knew AJ. But Free walks into the dressing room and she literally went around the room and introduced herself and shook everybody's hand one by one around the whole dressing room. And I looked at that and I was like, wow, that is really big time to me that Free took out the time to acknowledge everybody. I don't know Free, never met her. I might have seen her once or twice after. I don't know Free from Adam. She probably wouldn't even couldn't pick me out of a lineup, but I will always remember that gesture that she did. I thought it was dope because every other television show we've ever done in life, they never spoke to us. Not Arsenio. We did Soul Train. Don Cornelius was there. He wasn't the host, but like I said, for those that saw my epic fail, Soul Train, you know what I'm talking about. Don Cornelius was there. He didn't speak to none of us. We did BET multiple times. Ananda Lewis, rest in peace to her. She never spoke to none of us. Rap City, even Big Tigger, I don't even remember him really even speaking. He might have said what's up, but he never. Everybody just talks to KRS and that's it. And like I said, I get it. But when an artist or anybody speaks to everybody else, it really um is appreciated. And I make sure when I walk up to somebody that I know, I say what's up to them, and I turn and I make sure I say what's up to their people. Then I go back and I speak to them. I could name a million incidences where this happened. But going back to that, I remember Play, the only time I ever saw Play in person, he came in the dressing room. This is probably in the 90s. He spoke to Chris and he stepped off. So no disrespect, but it's true. Now, Wiz, DJ Wiz, that's my dude. What up, Wiz? I think all the DJs, especially back in the 90s, we all have like a kindred spirit. We're all connected. So we all know each other. But shout out to Wiz. Kid and Play had some big records back in the day, too. Shout out to them. We're in overtime, y'all. For those that's new to the channel, anything after 9:30 is considered OT. I might need to stop calling it OT because we always go to like 10 o'clock. This might just be just a continuation. I'm going to keep it as OT, though. For those that's new to the channel, this is the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hit the like button. Big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. Get the book. The link is in the description below. Um, Rid1 says 25 rebounds a game is insane. Yeah, but I think he averaged 27 one year. I think the record is 27. If you get 27 rebounds in a game right now, you would be player of the week. That'd be top story on SportsCenter. Will averaged 27 a game, and he played the whole season, 82 games, and the playoffs. 27 rebounds a game. To me, that's the record, but that's not even the craziest record. He had 55 rebounds in a game, bro. 55 against Bill Russell, the second best center in the league, who also had 50 rebounds in a game before. Wilt had 55 rebounds against Bill Russell in a game. You will never, ever, 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 ever see that happen again. And he didn't win MVP. Oh, we got another Shizak. Oreo, what up? His name was Bugging Out on Do the Right Thing. Oh, okay. Thank you. Bugging Out. That was his name. Did you look that up, Oreo? Or did you know off the top of your head? Bugging Out. That was his name. I haven't seen that movie in so long. I remember seeing that movie in the movies, and I was gassed because they were giving a shout out to all of the rap groups. I think it was Samuel Jackson was the radio DJ giving a shout out, and he said Boogie Down Productions. I was so excited. Sidney Rose says Wilt averaged 48.5 minutes a game, which is crazy. Yes, another record that will never, ever, ever, ever be broken. There's only 48 minutes in a game. He averaged 48.5 because of overtimes. He never came out, ever. Do you know how much stamina you have to never come out? Not only did he never come out and play all of overtime, but he never fouled out of a game either. So he played all of those minutes and never fouled out. Wilt Chamberlain is so ridiculous. He dominated his era so crazy. Wilt Chamberlain right now in today's basketball would be a monster. He wouldn't average 40 and 50 a game, but I think his rebounding and shot blocking would be devastating right now. Still. Let me scroll down a little bit because we're in OT. Rebel INS lost his project in a flood at RZA Studio. Yeah. It's a shame. It's a shame. Um, yeah, Ultra Bugging Out said it. Yes. Uh, yeah, it's Gus from Breaking Bad. Yep. Patrick Wise says somebody asked a question. This is going to be the answer from KP. Get the book. My brother's name is Kenny. Answers to the book. I don't know what question you asked, but it's probably get the book. Um, Kenny, what borough do you live in now? I would not give that out only because, there's psycho trolls that might want to try to find you and somebody might get mad that I said something and you never know. Some people are mad because I got pictures of dudes on the wall, so you never know how somebody would react if they could track you down. Any Wayans Brothers stories? I think I talked about this a couple of episodes ago, so I'm gonna leave that one alone. But yeah, shout out to Sean. Yeah, he was in School Days as a villain. Spike loved him. Wasn't he Tisha Campbell's boyfriend? Yup. Tracy said, yep, he did kill Malcolm. Yup. Spike used him a lot. Um Patrick Wise says, KP, you're a big Tribe fan. You should have known Bugging Out. I should have known that. KP, we need a BDP movie. Yes, we do. Based on my book. I'm jumping around all over the place trying to KP, who would you like to see play Kenny and Chris in a BDP like that? Well, first you'd have to get a young, in order to tell a story right, you'd have to get a young Kenny and Chris and then an older Kenny and Chris. Not sure. I'd have to think about that. CMC says Free is so fine. Shout out to Free. Uh, any Jazzy Jeff stories? No. I met Jazzy Jeff twice. Just what's up? One of the greatest, right at the top of the greatest DJs of all time. But no, never met him. I mean, I met him, don't have any stories. KP, who are your top 5 artists you would like to work with? Tip, De La, Native Tongue, Redman. These are my favorite artists of all time. Native Tongue, Redman, Ice Cube, Big would have been dope. Scarface. These are my favorites of all time. I mean, there's a few, but you said 5. That's a 5 right there. Um, Mike Rock said, I'm still crushing on Sweet Tea. I met Sweet Tea, by the way. She was very nice. And shout out to Jazzy Joyce. That's the homie. Betty Doyle said, Kenny, what was Clarice Starling's boss's name from Science of the Land? Come on, Benny Doyle. Why, man? Crawford. Benny Doyle, you gotta come. You gotta come. Crawford was his name. Jack Crawford. You gotta come harder than that, Benny Doyle. Will Chamberlain, Nate Thurman, and Jerry Lucas the only players to average 20 rebounds a game for a season. That's a dope stat. I thought Bill Russell would have been in there. I would have lost that question. Concept Solution Service. Peace, Kenny. I just saw a doc about Miss Melody and I had a few questions. Were her and Kara still friends after the divorce? The documentary said that she died all alone in Kings County Hospital. I didn't see the documentary. I don't think I would even want to comment on husband and wife stuff like that. Um, I'm gonna leave that one alone. I mean, if you want to know my relationship with Miss Melody, you can get the book. But I would love to answer any of those questions. But I understand your question, but I think I'm gonna leave it alone. I didn't see the documentary, by the way. And of course, I know the answer, but I'm gonna leave that one. Um, let's see. Sidney Rose said, Wilt was also a track star in Kansas. Yeah, he was like an Olympic level high jumper. He's one of the greatest athletes that ever lived, man. Bobby W says, Will Chamberlain famously claimed in 91 autobiography, a view from above, that he slept with 20,000 women in his lifetime. I think he said he exaggerated that a little bit. I don't know if that's even possible, but I'm pretty sure it was a lot. What about when David Thompson and George Iceman Gervin? First of all, Iceman is one of my favorite players of all time. Remember the poster with him sitting on the throne of ice? I think that's the greatest NBA poster ever. Um, and Starks dunking on Jordan and them. We're fighting for the scoring title in 78. Thompson scored 73 in the last game, and Iceman needed 50 something and scored 60 to win the title. Yeah. Um, I think they both averaged like 28 point something or 29. and there was percentage points difference between the two of them. And earlier in the day, David Thompson scored 73, which means Iceman needed 50 something, maybe 59 or 50 something he needed to break to win the scoring title. And George Gervin had 33 in the first quarter. He said, yo, all I need is 60? Piece of cake. He scored 63 that night and won the title. But 33 in the first quarter, which was the record. I think Klay Thompson just beat that record, right? A few years ago. That's a crazy story. That was a little before my time, but crazy story. Vin Baker can play KP. Yes, a lot of people have said I look like Vin Baker. I saw Vin Baker too in World Trade Center a few years ago. We're in OT, y'all. Let me scroll down a little bit. Not that far behind. It seems like Esposito's career took a nosedive after he shot Malcolm. No, he was in the show with Bumpy Knuckles, not Bumpy Knuckles, Bumpy Johnson. Adam Clayton was his name. Um, Bobby W. The 1991 thriller Silence of the Lambs grossed 272 million worldwide against a budget of 19 million. That's what you call extremely successful. That's one of the few movies, I don't know how many there were, only a couple, maybe two or three, that won all 5 of the major Oscar awards. Swept them all. That's my favorite movie of all time. Uh, I just saw something. Oh, Patrick Watson, I read Wilt's book Goliath in 6th grade. I probably read it too. I read all of his books that I could get my hands on. And it was amazing. I knew a few Wilt stories that I'd ever heard over the years. What people forget is Wilt was a great athlete that played basketball. That's the thing. He was a great athlete that was 7'1". Um, and they say he was incredibly strong too. Um, he when they talk about GOATs, his name has to be up in there for what he did in his time. Just absolute incredible. He has like 60 or 70 NBA records, some crazy shit like that. I read everything I could about Wilt Chamberlain back in the day. You ever see him? He's one of the few, I think only like 2 or 3 people ever blocked Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's skyhook. Wilt being, he did it a couple times, and this is when he was older. This is older Wilt Chamberlain was blocking Kareem's skyhook. Crazy. Kenny Parker should be in the Silence of the Lambs movie reboot. I could be Barney, right? It's like only one black dude in the movie, right? We're in overtime, y'all. Chambers dunking on Mark Jackson is another legendary poster. I didn't know that was a poster. That was crazy back in the day. Uh, JC, KP, Bill Russell averaged 20 plus boards 10 times. Yeah, I thought Bill Russell was up there. I thought so. Philly T said, so Wilt was basically trying to say he never slept with the same woman twice. I think he might have had sex 20,000 times, but we didn't know how many, but if that was the main. But see, you got 20,000. And when he said this, he was like 40 something. That means he had to have started, that's like an average of some, my math, my math is not, it's off the top of my head, but he had to have started, you're talking about like 20, he had to have started when he was like 11 or 12 and had to do like two or three, at least two a day from like 12 to like 40 something. Something crazy like that to get a number like that. That's bananas. You know what's the funniest thing I ever saw about that? I remember when that came out. No, it was Magic. Magic, when he first caught the virus and he did that um interview, and I think he was trying to do like a he was coming clean, but I think it was also like a PR thing. And he confessed that he lived a very promiscuous lifestyle, and he said he slept with over 2,000 women. And he said sometimes two at a time, sometimes three at a time, Magic said. And I remember I was watching a Knicks game, and Clyde Frazier said, Magic just said he slept with 2,000 women. Woo. He said, man, I had a few hundred, but 2,000 is a lot. I remember like, going, yo, Clyde is wilding on TV. He said that. He said a few hundred, but 2,000 is a lot. I was like, yo, by today's standards, he would have got canceled. Shout out to Clyde. How far behind am I? Not too far. We're in overtime, y'all. Mm, let's see. CMC, OKP. I ran into Fife Dog in Lenox Mall in Atlanta. Yeah, he used to live in Atlanta back in '98. He was talking about a female walking with a friend of his. I passed by him shoulder to shoulder, like, oh shit. You should have spoke to him. Fife was super cool. That's my dude, man. Uh, Didn't Wilt play with the Harlem Globetrotters briefly before the NBA? Yeah, he left college after his junior year. But back in 1961, I believe, 1960, you could not play in the NBA until your college class graduated. So that year after he left college, that year he spent a year playing with the Harlem Globetrotters getting paid. Aaron Logan said publisher made Wilt say that. He admitted it. We are we are way still saying this. Um yeah, I think Wilt admitted that he exaggerated a little bit, but I'm pretty sure it was a lot. Um 20,000. I don't even know if that's possible. Jason Wall says I was wrong. Russell and Bob Pettit did it once, so they were five. There were five. And I believe all five of those guys are not only in the Hall of Fame, but in the top 50 NBA. When they had that top 50 list, which is even more exclusive than the Hall of Fame, I think all five of those guys who average 20 rebounds a game are in that top 50, right? Patrick said Wilt was enough freak offs to boost his numbers. Yeah, Patrick, while Wilt blocked Kareem Scott Hook twice in one game, but Bill Willoughby at 6'8 also blocked it. I saw that. Saw it with my own eyes back in 1981. Amazing basketball play. Yeah, Bill Willoughby. Remember him? Um, Rid wants to KP. If you had one superhero power, what would it be? Super strength, invisibility. This may sound corny, but the ability to heal people. Like I can just touch people and fix them, whatever's ailing them. That would be my superpower. Um, KP, my mom gets a kick out of Clive Frazier and his phrases during the game. Me too. But he's just gotten wild with it. Like when he was just swishing and dishing, that was cool. But now he's just throwing out words and ambiguous, omnipotent. It's like Clive. That's his style. He's had like a 25, 30-year run as an analyst, which is crazy. Patrick Watts says, ironically, Wilt and Magic were both radio DJs in college. Yeah. Um, let's see. Wilt dated Quentin Tarantino's mom, confirmed. I did not know that. Wow. So KP wants to be Jesus. I don't want to be Jesus. I don't want that responsibility. But the part about healing, that part, yeah. Oh, thank you, Patrick McLean. He says, bro, you kind of do that already with this chat. Thank you, man. I should leave it at that. All right, y'all. Good night. No. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We're in OT, y'all. Coming towards the end. Uh Joshua says, hey KP, how you doing? What's good? Gotta ask, are the new songs of KRS-One featuring various old school artists on channels such as Black Bear News and New York's Finest AI? I was just wondering. Well, I don't know if it's AI, but I know it's not real songs that they all did together. I don't know where they got the acapellas from, but um, I would have to say that they're not real songs. Could be AI. Benny Joe Kenny, what was Clarice Starling's dad's occupation? Wasn't he a cop that startled a burglar and got ended? Right? That's why she went to go live with relatives who had the farm. And that's why she was trying to save the lambs, that one lamb. She confessed that to Dr. Lecter. I believe that her father was an officer. Yes. I could be wrong, but I think so. Um, I'm at the very bottom, y'all. Cutie Pie having deja vu right now. That's dope. What up, Cutie Pie? What's going on? You've been kind of quiet on here. Um, Mike Rock says the Clyde Puma shoe is still available. Man, when I was growing up, them Pumas, them Clyde suede Pumas would get your head knocked off. Y'all remember how petty, those that's from New York, before the crack era that turned street thugs into millionaires, do you remember how petty the crimes were? Late 70s, early 80s, like dudes would snatch your sneakers off your feet and like scully hats and earmuffs. You remember that? Yo, if you had on Adidas or Pumas, man, you was in trouble. Um, who was the artist the girl Buffalo Bill kidnaps was listening to in the car and sing along to? That's a tough one. I could see her in the car rocking her head and she's driving. I do not know the song. That's a tough one, Jason Wall. Who is the art? That's a good one. And you know what? If it came on, I could sing along to it. I can see her doing it, but I don't know the song. That's a good one, Jason Wall. You have stumped me. Benny Doyle says, Kenny is undefeated. I give up. Don't give up, Benny Doyle. I just got stumped. Uh, this is crazy, Patrick. By KP, I still have the newspaper clip from the Thompson Gervin shootout. That's crazy. The headline was when 63 beat 73. Gervin also said he scored 5 extra points just in case the stats got mixed up. That's a dope little piece of nugget right there. Um, that just goes to show how at will he was scoring. George Gervin was like Kevin Durant level of scoring mid-range, scoring jumpers from all areas. He was the KD of the 70s and 80s. He led the NBA in scoring 4 times in a row. What a fantastic basketball player. Benny Doyle says, I asked 100 questions. J. Walt got him on the first try. Yes, he did. That's a tough one. Now you're going to make me have to go find out. Yo, I swear to you, Tom Petty, American Girl, I swear to you that I was going to say American Girl, but I wasn't sure. Jason Stewart, I swear to you guys right now, I had American Girl. I had American Woman in my head, not American Girl. Um, Cutie Pie says, I don't think KP is seeing all my comments. Probably not, because I'd be behind and just be scrolling down. Um, so I miss a lot of comments, y'all, but I try to get to most of them I can. But sometimes I fall so far behind that I got to catch up, and I'll jump like 40 comments, 50 comments. We're in double overtime, y'all, so I'm going to jump off in a second. Let me make sure I got all the chats. I did. Um, Tracy said, good one at Cutie Pie. Tom Petty. Did you look that up, Cutie Pie? I had American Woman. I was there. In my mind, I was there. But because I couldn't come with it, I will say I'm going to take the L. But in my mind, if you had gave me a little more time, I think I would have got there. And Gervin never broke a sweat because he was ice. I heard a story. I don't know if this is true, so don't quote me on this. But some people are saying he got the name Ice because of drugs. The whole NBA was on drugs back in those days. But so I've heard that somebody said that's why he really got the name Iceman, but I don't know if that's true. I don't like reporting rumors, but um, Cutie Pie says, no, I did not look it up. That's dope. Anybody who likes Silence of the Lambs as much as me, we are kindred spirits. Um, if I ever meet Jodie Foster, I'm gonna lose it. So Jodie Foster, hope that I never meet you because I'm gonna be too much. We're in double overtime, y'all. I'm gonna jump off in a minute. Um, if I ever met any of them, Dr. Lecter would be great. Uh, Anthony Hopkins, any of them would be great, but Jodie Foster, I would really, really. Buffalo Bill would be ill. Buffalo Bill is probably the only person that did not win an Oscar, and Buffalo Bill was great in that movie. We need that serial killer episode. We do. I just don't know if everybody on here wants it. We probably need a special day to just talk about serial enders. I'll be looking at all kind of morbid stuff on YouTube, y'all. I'll be bugging. Like I did a whole Griselda Blanco dive a few days ago. Yo, she was wild, man. These people were off the walls. Um, KP loved Jodie Foster since Freaky Friday. I loved her since Taxi. Uh, you're right, Benny Doyle. That song Buffalo Bill played in the background is forever ruined. Yes, yes. It's put the lotion on its body or it gets the hose again. All right. On that note, I have officially jumped the shark. All right, let me make this smaller. All right, I'm jumping off, y'all. God willing, everybody will be here Tuesday. I think I'm going to start working on a new um for the win, another story coming soon. I mean, everybody didn't get a chance to really check out from my last For the Win Busta Rhymes edition. Please check that out when you get a chance. Um, Nobody loves Jodie Foster like Hinckley. Yeah, talking about he's not a serial offender, but we would love to talk about him. She won't even mention his name. Any cool Mo D stories? Bunches. I'd have to do that next time. Um, yes, Floetry, what up? How you feeling? Haven't heard your name in a while. I'm gonna leave it with Floetry. Peace, Kenny. Have a good weekend. That's how we're gonna leave it. Peace, y'all. Have a good weekend. Floetry, I hope you're feeling a lot better after your surgery. All right, I'm jumping off, y'all. Uh, have a great weekend, and I hope everybody will be here um, Tuesday. All right, y'all. I'm out.